Welcome to the This Mum Loves Tech podcast, the go-to show for female business owners who want to simplify tech and get the support they need to grow their online businesses with confidence. I'm Nicola Walsh, your podcast host. I'm also a mum to two cheeky boys and I love tech, so you don't have to. I'm here to share actionable tips, tools and strategies that will help you streamline your business and make the tech work for you. So whether you're watching after the kids have gone to bed or listening while on the school run, let's dive into today's episode and make tech that little bit easier. Hello and welcome to another edition of This Mum Loves Tech. And we are hitting the new year off with a brilliant guest. I have got Jen Lister with me today, who is a business strategist. Yes, woo, we are very excited. We are kicking 2026 off in style. And she's going to come in talking to us about goal setting, because I know that is something that this time of year people are getting raring for the next year and what it's going to look like. And Jen is going to help us get that plan together. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
So before we get into all the goal setting goodies, tell us a little bit about you and why you're so passionate about goal setting, because I know that's something you are really passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'm passionate about people being able to create a life that they love, and that's like a mission of mine. Is, you know, there's lots of stuff out there about you should be doing this or you should be doing that, and social media, you know, tells us that even things like, you know, you should get married, then have kids, then do this, then do that. But actually, like, I'm really passionate about people stepping back and thinking about what do they actually want from their life and not using everyone else's judgment, everyone else's lenses on what that should be. So with my clients, my mission is to help them build their dream lifestyle business, whatever that is. I love working with what I call parentrepreneurs, so mums or dads that run businesses, because there's a lot of us out there. I've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, so I know how hard the juggle is between, you know, life, running a business, you know, all the school stuff that comes up, keeping your house nice, which just doesn't happen, like keeping your relationship going good, like all these things are really hard to do and juggle. So yeah, my mission is that, and I'm very boundary driven. So one of my like phrases that I like is like full-time business but part-time hours. So helping people build their business that gives them more fun, freedom and family time ultimately, because who doesn't want that?
Exactly.
And it is possible.
3 Fs.
The 3 Fs. Yeah, I love it.
And I think that is so true, that there is such a juggle with it all, and it's finding, because I don't like the word balance. It's something I learned from Tech Pixies, and she explained it so well, Joy Foster, who runs that, about how if you have balance, you think of scales, and then something has to give.
Yeah.
Like, or you have to have them, you know, at equal, and you can't ever do that.
No.
So she said that it's better to try and find harmony
within your business,
so that you can, everything works how you want it to. And it may be that at some points work gets your priority over family for something, and then at other times family will take priority over work, and it's just, but it's finding how that works for you and how that looks for you. And I think that's really important, how you were saying about not fitting what everyone else says you should be doing, because everybody's different, everyone's setup is different.
Definitely. And I think I've always had a problem with worrying what other people think, but ultimately, you know, ask yourself, are those people paying your mortgages? Are those people paying for your holidays? Like, this is, you know, this is coaching for me. Like, you know, you've got to just go, you know what, I want to do these things. I want to live my life this way. And if people want to judge, they might do it for 30 seconds and then they'll be back to concern on their life. So, you know, people don't actually care that much.
Yeah, that's true. We care more than yeah. So tell us a little bit about, how did you get into all of this? Like, is this something you've always done, or did you pivot with children? Like, how has Jen Lister strategy came about?
Yes, and I feel like I didn't answer your question about goal setting, so I can come back to that as well. So Jen Lister strategy. So I have a background in corporate. So I did the thing that, you know, everyone was doing in that generation. So I went to university. I did the thing in 2005. I went to uni. I went to Warwick. I went and worked at the Big Four, which was Deloitte, and worked in strategy for them. So that's kind of where the strategy kind of thread started. But again, going back to that point earlier, it's like I just did the thing that everyone told me you should do, you know, get the best paying graduate job, all of that sort of stuff. And after about 8 years in corporate, I got headhunted and moved over to Australia and worked for the biggest supermarket in Australia for a bit. I was desperate to start my own business. Like, I had this fire in my belly that I wanted to start a business, but I had no idea how. I had no idea what in. And because I left Australia with a lovely sum of money, because you build up a good pension when you're in Australia, their pension scheme's amazing, I invested that money in my first business. So that was a franchise, and I built that franchise up with my business partner, and I think we won 7 awards in 4 years. But when I had my daughter, it was clear that that wasn't going to work for me anymore, because it was a care business and it was like 24/7. So I then started Generalist Strategy, because it fits much better around my life and my family, and basically it means I get to be my own boss and choose, because although I was my own boss before, there was a lot of requirements to be around a lot of the time. So yeah, this works really well for me.
Oh, I didn't realise you was in Australia and all that kind of stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah. See, we know each other, but we didn't know each other.
I know. All these things, you can always learn something new about somebody.
Exactly.
So yeah, let's go back to goal setting specifically, because I know that's something that you've really kind of shifted to be your focus in the last kind of year. So why is it so important to you?
It's so funny that you say that, because goal setting for me, I think I started really leaning into it in about 2017, 2018. And it was because I had a pretty dark time in my life where I was due to get married to my fiance, and the relationship broke down, and there was all this kind of trauma and trouble through that time. And I was 30, I was single, and I was like, I really want to have a family. And I was a bit lost, to be honest. One of the things I knew I wanted more than anything was to have family. And so my brother bought me a vision board. My brother and sister-in-law bought me this massive vision board, and I've still got it now. It's huge. And I did a vision board, basically. And I put pictures up of like my dream man. I put like, which I was so embarrassed about. I was like, I don't want anyone coming to my house because I don't want to see my vision board. But like, you know, the awards I wanted to win in my business, just all sorts of beautiful, happy things that I wanted to achieve. And somehow, slowly but surely, things started to happen. Now, the vision board wasn't the only thing that made it happen. Like, I surrounded myself with things that I loved, and I was just really leaning into the whole self-love thing, I think, at that point. And I got a place on my own, which was a massive turning point. But I loved sitting down, journaling, and just writing out my goals, and just watching the magic happen. In I guess the 5 years from that point, I met my now husband. We've now got 2 children when we didn't even think we could have one. And I've grown a business, sold a business, built a property portfolio, got my second business. Like, so much good stuff has happened. And now it's like, it's literally a discipline that I do all the time. So every year I spend a lot of time doing goal setting for my personal life, but also for my business. And then every month even, I do like a mini reflection goal setting, and probably once a quarter I do a little bit more of an in-depth one. It sounds like a lot, but it doesn't take that much time. And then the other thing that I want to say is that me and my husband and our kids, although my youngest is 2 and is definitely not going to be very good at this yet, but we do our family vision board. So at the start of the year, my vision board that my brother bought me when I was single is now our family vision board. It's in our bedroom, and we all work together and put like pictures of stuff that we want to make happen in that year. So yeah, I'm excited because it's coming, you know, it's that time of year again. So, you know, we've got lots of pins. So my 2-year-old will probably try and, you know, pin himself or something. So I might have to be a bit careful with those. But yeah, it's really fun. And I honestly would say, anyone listening, it's a really, you know, it's a nice thing to do as a family.
Oh, that's such a lovely idea. I've not thought of doing it like with the family. Yeah, I mean, I've got a 3-year-old who is a very wild second child. I don't know about your second child. So yeah, I'm not trusting around pins, but there's the idea of like, so do you put things like your holidays or days out or things like that on it that you want to do?
Yeah, and to be honest, I do my vision board slightly differently to a lot of people. So I like to put current family photos, like from the last year as well. So it's kind of like more of a vibration board. So you see like a happy picture of you all together, like in the middle. And then there's other things like random stuff from magazines, like, yeah, like the mountains, or you want to go on holiday, or, you know, I've put Disneyland on there because one day I want to take the kids to Disneyland, stuff like that. So it's like a mixture of goals, but also just happy family memories and who we want to spend time with as a family, so our extended family. But honestly, when I first had my vision board, I thought my now husband Ben, I thought he would think I was mad, and I thought he'd be really not into this stuff. So if anyone's listening thinking that their other half would just cringe at the idea, I felt exactly that. And somehow, you know, he loves it as well. He's like, when he brushes his teeth at night, he's like always looks at the vision board and he's like thinking about all the stuff, and we talk about it sometimes when we're sat in bed. And it's just nice kind of just to have that to look at visually. It does help.
Oh, that does sound so lovely. And just, yeah, a nice way of, especially if you're having like a hard day or something, you've got something to look at and just to remember like the bigger picture.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So stuff like we did our extension this year, so that was on there, and we bought a VW. So we put a camper van on there a while ago, and then we end up buying a VW. So like, I think there's something magical about, you know, sometimes you say, oh, we're never going to be able to do that. But actually, when you've got it on there, you do start to have the conversations and do the little things that make the difference to make things happen. Obviously, you know, it's not magic. I'm not going to pretend it's magic because it's not, but it is magical.
I suppose it pulls your focus, doesn't it? Because you've got that visual reminder always there to be like, oh yeah, we said we're going to do that. Because otherwise,
Yeah.
sometimes you say you're going to do something, and then if you don't ever, like for me, if it's not in the calendar, it doesn't ever happen.
Yeah, but isn't that interesting? So I think what I find from a lot of my clients as well is that they struggle with focus. And I think one of the good things, because you can have a business vision board as well, like I think sometimes we get that shiny object syndrome and we want to do more and more, or we want to do different stuff, and we're always losing that focus. But also from a personal perspective, when you mention calendar, sometimes I think if we look at our calendars, it's just a load of stuff that other people are requesting of us, and it's not necessarily going back to that point originally. Like, what do you want to spend your weeks, your days, your months doing? Like, I think it's a really important question to ask yourself, and make sure that you're the instigator, you're the one doing the hobbies you want to do. Like, if you, I don't know, if you like going for walks, then go on a hiking holiday with a friend, or as opposed to, you know, joining in on the holiday that was already planned to somewhere you don't really want to go.
Yeah. And how do you then make this specific to business? Because you were saying about the shiny object syndrome, which I think with business is something that definitely comes up. You know, you'll be happily going along and then someone will launch something. You're like, oh, like,
Yeah.
how have you found that the goal setting and the vision board helps you stay focused with what you're like, keeping things aligned to your goals and not?
So I always, when I work with my clients, and I always do this for myself as well, is I always have 3 goals to my business, no more and no less. Sometimes, you know, other little things crop up, but ultimately the goals I see are like almost like projects in your business, and you've got to run your business, you've got to do all the, you know, the marketing, you've got to do all the delivery to the clients, whatever it is that you're doing. So if you've got more than 3 goals, and this is for like I'd say normally like a 3 to 4 month period, you're going to really struggle to deliver. And even 3 is quite a lot. So, you know, one of my goals is typically something around, you know, growing my client numbers, or maintaining, or, you know, delivering something that's already in my business and not doing something new. So I think that's a really big part of it, just being really clear on those 3 goals, but also on why they're important. So not just coming up with, you know, oh, I've got a goal, I want to launch this group program or whatever it is. It's actually like, why do you want to launch it? Like, what is the reason? Like, what is the benefit that you're going to get from it? Or how does it, you know, draw on your values, or it's really aligned to your passion, or means you can serve more people, or like, what is the why behind your goal? And having that visually. So like, I've got my 3 goals, my why, my targets on my desk, so I can look at it on the regular. And I can share the link to that with you.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I think that's a good point, because sometimes you think, oh, I need to do a course or whatever, but actually, why? Because if it doesn't align with your goals and your vision, then you're just giving yourself extra work for no apparent reason.
Yeah, I know. It's so true. And I think the amount of people that say to me, they've invested in this course or that course and they haven't actually done it yet. And it's like, that's why I do one-to-one coaching, live coaching. And I like that because, one, I like receiving that, because I know that if I buy a course somewhere, it's going to sit in my inbox. I'm not going to do it. Like, I'd much rather be accountable, do something live, and progress the goals that I want to progress in my business.
Yeah, definitely. Live has that effect, doesn't it? I definitely feel the same. So what would you say is one thing when it comes to goal setting and that kind of thing that people always get wrong?
What do people always get wrong? I think there's a couple of things. I think one would be setting too many goals. And I've done this. I was literally digging out my goals from last January because I was doing my goals for this year. And I literally had about 20 written down. I did actually circle my top 3 or 4 in the end, but it was quite crazy the amount of goals I had. And actually looking back at them, I didn't necessarily achieve all of them, obviously, because it was too many. But it was cool to see, some of the things I had done and obviously what had happened in the year and influence those priorities. So I think that's one thing, is if you can really distill it down. So I say 3 business goals and 3 personal goals. That's what I would say is ideal. And have them somewhere visually so that you can see them regularly, so that you actually know what they are. And I think the other thing that typically happens is kind of what we were talking about earlier, which is life gets in the way, which is fine. But just as an example, one of my goals, is going to put this out there, is writing. So I've started writing a book, but there's a long journey ahead to actually finish that book. And I've also started writing, this is literally exclusive, I've never said this anywhere before, is I've started writing poetry.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, which is cool, actually. I'm really, really enjoying it. And it's all about that kind of parenting, business life, trying to juggle it all, the overwhelm. So yeah, it's it's very honest. And I'm really enjoying it. But, in the evening, quite often we sit and put the telly on. I could instead, say, I'm going to write a poem. I'm going to spend half an hour writing a poem, then I'm going to watch the telly. But I haven't really done that. So I think it's really easy to ignore our goals, I guess is what I'm saying. It's really easy to go, I really want to write that book, but I'd much rather just lay on the sofa and watch the telly in the evenings because I'm knackered. So it's about, how can I focus? And I'm literally coaching myself now while I'm saying this, but it's how can I, because one of the things I have done, which has worked really nicely, is if everyone's still asleep and I get up at say 6, I get half an hour and I can do some writing. So that's really great. But what it's like when you've got young kids. Sometimes they wake up at 5:30, sometimes they wake up at 7, and you're like, where are the kids? So it's it's that kind of stuff. It's that focus and that keeping that focus there.
I'm not a morning person, so yeah, doing stuff at 6 o'clock would definitely not work for me. But I think that's a really good thing to kind of carry on talking about, is how to stick with your goals, because
yes,
I'm for one where I am very much a lastminute.com. So if I write something down, if I've set a goal for 3 months, you can guarantee I will do it in probably the last week of the 3rd month.
Yeah.
So how have you got any tips of how you can keep what best practices to keep those goals moving forward, so you don't have that last minute panic of trying to get it done?
I'm really trying to come up with something that doesn't involve saying, work with a coach.
No, but if that's
I'm so biased, but
yeah,
I think it's a really hard one. I think you've got to be who you are. You are brilliant at what you do, Nicola, and therefore whatever you're doing is working for you. So maybe you don't need to change that and don't need to worry. If you've got the goal and you still make it, you know, on the whatever date, 1st of April is your goal to have it delivered by, and you do it the week before that, then, you know, just own it and it works. So I think understanding yourself is probably a really important part of it, like understanding what works for you and what will get the best out of you. And then, yeah, like I say, if it is, so I meet people that want to work one-to-one in terms of coaching, but then I also meet people that say, you know, I'd actually rather a group situation. And I know we've talked about this before, but like memberships can be really good. So if you're part of like a business membership and there's some sort of accountability in there, or like, you know, a co-working option or something like that. So I think just working out what works for you. I guess the other thing you could do, and this is something I love doing with my clients, is looking at your diary. And I love, this sounds like the most boring thing in the world, but it always seems to be like one of the most game-changing things that I do with my clients. And it's literally like rethinking the way they work each week and even each month. So it's like, do you want to say every Friday is your day for projects? So every Friday you pick up your 3 goals sheet that you've worked on, your template, and you basically just move forward whatever those goals are. Like that might work for you, it might not. So it's just, I guess it's just figuring out. And I know, like when I work with my clients, they always have actions and they tend to come back to their sessions having done the actions, even if they do it the night before. I don't care if they do it the night before, that's fine by me. Like, but the investment is the discipline that makes them go, you know what, I want to give energy to this thing that I want to launch or move forward. So there's a few ideas there. The other idea, I guess, if you don't get a coach as such, is an accountability buddy, because I think if you click with someone in business, it's really lovely. Like when you know, we meet people on Instagram, we meet people on LinkedIn, but actually we can make some really good friendships through that. And I've got a really lovely relationship with someone. Her name's Charlie Hill. She's a business strategist coach as well. So shout out to her. And we do a session every 3 or 4 months. And we do our own like strategy and we kind of challenge each other. And that works really well for us. But you could go to a deeper level. Like you could have a WhatsApp group where you support each other and message each other and cheer each other on and be like, have you done that thing yet? What are you launching this month? So you can do a skill swap, I think. Just figuring out what works for you.
Yeah, definitely. So going back to because I know you said you don't want to say about a coach all the time, but obviously that is what you do. So how does having a coach help you achieve these goals? Like, what do you do with your clients like, you've mentioned some of the things like giving them actions and that kind of thing. How does the experience of working with a coach to reach your goals work?
Such a great question. So I guess the first thing is focus, because the first thing that I always do with my clients, I mean, it's not the very first thing, but in the first session typically is setting out those 3 goals, setting out the why behind those goals, setting out the targets and the actions. And then through the time I work with my clients, which is typically 6 months, we work towards those goals. So every single session we're coming back to them. So I guess that focus happens naturally. The other things that are really kind of magical that I find is me and my clients, we always work on their vision and their mission and their values. And something clicks for my clients when they get that vision statement really clear. They know like what is their vision. And honestly, I've struggled with this in my own business, but when my clients have the session and it clicks and they're like, oh, this is it really helps them just with their business in general, because, you know, that goes on their website, that goes on their social media, that goes in their heart, literally. Like they've got, it's like their North Star for their business. Like they know what their purpose is. And I think sometimes we can lose sight of that and we can get a bit transported onto social media all the time and just going through the motions. So I think the journey that I have with my clients is about developing that purpose, getting clear on the goals, working the goals to ultimately result in revenue, clients, but also a sustainable business that you love, as opposed to, you know, get rich quick style. because I don't believe in that. Like, I want to have a business that is very balanced, that means that I can have time with my family and be present and not worry about social media, but know that I've got clients and I'm building my client base and, you know, enjoying my client work.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what you said about not getting rich quick, is that the I said that?
Yeah.
Because, you know, you said you typically work with people for 6 months. So it's something where you can go through that motion of setting goals and actually achieving them. You're not just there, you know, doing like, here's your goals, off you go kind of thing. You're supporting them to actually achieve them.
And I think the point there is accountability, is that really works well for my clients. But honestly, one of my clients, we were working together for 3 months. And I remember when she set her goals, I was a bit like, wow, those goals are pretty big. Like, they were, you know, she just started her business and she wanted to have, I think it was like 10 clients or something in, you know, 6 months, which I thought was, I can't remember if it was 10 or 20. Anyway, either way, she absolutely smashed the goal and she actually did it in 3 months. So, you know, I have learned from that experience that you can never judge what someone's goal is. You know, I'm always learning as a coach as well. And it's really beautiful to see when someone absolutely smashes their goals out of the park. And it is possible. You know, we set these goals and sometimes we overachieve. Sometimes, you know, we achieve them. Sometimes we don't achieve them. Like, we don't always achieve our goals, but, you know, we reflect on that process, which I think is another element that's really important, is actually reflecting and not constantly going, you know, go. It's sometimes take a step back and actually reflect and say, why didn't I do this? Or do I actually want to achieve this goal anymore? It might be irrelevant.
Yeah, because things change. So something you thought you wanted to work on, when you start actually doing it, you might realize, actually, I don't enjoy this, or you thought you might like it, and it's okay to change your mind.
Yeah, especially at the start of a business. Like, I think we've talked about this before. It's like, it's a journey, isn't it? And sometimes your clients come to you for things that you didn't realize they were going to come to you for. So that's part of the process. So I think there's an element of, you know, it's science and art. It's set the goals, you know, you've got to wing it a bit. You've got to adapt a little. You've got to adapt to what comes at you. But at the same time, the goals make you more intentional and definitely help with results.
Yeah, amazing. So obviously this is This Mum Loves Tech podcast. So I can't have you on the podcast with asking, what is there any particular tech tool that you use to help you with, I don't know, your goal setting or your visioning, or just running your business in general?
Okay. I've got a couple of things then that I want to share. So one that I discovered probably about a year ago now was that Pinterest do collages. And I really like them for vision boarding. So if you can't be bothered to, you know, buy a corkboard, buy the pins, get the magazines out, which, you know, let's be honest, we don't have as many magazines lying around the house anymore. Pinterest collages is great. So you can basically build your own vision board from that. And I've done that for business goals. I've done it for my branding when I was rebranding my business. So yeah, it's quite cool. You can obviously do it for your vision board for your life. You could use that for your family vision board. So I do love a bit of Pinterest from a personal perspective, but from a business perspective, I think I'd have to say MailerLite, because Nicola, you taught me everything I know. And, you know, I've actually got myself really, you know, quite comfortable with it now. And I get it. Something's clicked in the last like 3 to 6 months and I like it a lot. I think it's really great. I think it's really, you know, user friendly, and yeah, I like it. I like the benefit that it means you can just, you know, copy your old templates, copy previous emails, edit them, use pictures. I even used a GIF in an email that I sent recently, and I was like, wow, I've not done that before. So yeah, it just feels like it's been a good experimentation for me.
And have you seen, I mean, I love obviously that you've chosen MailerLite as one of your favorite tools. And has it been made a difference having that email list? Because I know you've like launched some new things yourself over the last over 2025 and stuff. Like, has that helped you communicate better?
Yeah, I feel like the way that I've used my email list, and I've had it for quite a while now, but you know, it kind of just sits there and it's growing gradually. is like exclusive. So I've used it for wait lists for my Get On It with Jen strategy workshops, and then obviously exclusive, they get the first dibs on the tickets and stuff like that. So I've really liked the fact that I can use that email list to send exclusive offers, because ultimately if someone wants to be on my email list, then I'm so grateful for that, and I think they deserve to have that priority. So yeah, I think it's quite clever in that sense.
Yeah, so I love that MailerLite is your favorite tool. And I think when people think of newsletters and email marketing, they think they have to send a newsletter, and they think that's all it's for. But the fact that there is so much more that you can do with it, like your wait list, offering exclusives, it makes being in your email list something special. And I think then, you know, like I try and do that with some of the, like my 2-minute tech tips that I do are exclusively for my email list and my Facebook group. So unless you're in those two places, you can't see it. Just to give people a kind of a, that feeling of
just making them feel special.
Feeling special, that exclusivity that, you know, it's not just another platform where you're just putting out stuff to the masses. You know, you've taken the time to create something just for them.
Exactly.
A great way to use it, as well as, you know, keeping people updated of generally what's going on world and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do a monthly newsletter, but I don't call it, you know, the monthly newsletter. It's much more exciting than that. But I find personally, I find it hard to do any more than that, because the amount of hours I work, I don't know how you smash out all your emails, Nicola. You are a machine.
I mean, I have to say, put my hand up and say my membership ones are written by my amazing VA, Lizzie Howard. So she does those.
Shout out to Lizzie, she's great.
Yeah, so she does all the membership emails. So there seems to be a lot going out from me, but I only actually do 2 a week.
Yeah.
And my podcast one is kind of formatted, like you were saying about how you have a set format that you copy.
Yeah.
The podcast one is pretty much a sort of set format. So then really it's only the Tuesday tip one that I then have to write from kind of what am I going to include this week?
Brain.
From my brain, from some story that's probably happened at some point, you know, with kids and business and life. Because that is I suppose that is the good thing, is you're never short of a story when you're trying to run a business with your kids.
Oh, so true. It's so true. And it's such a juggle, isn't it? It's like, and the amount of people that say like they really want to be present with their kids and not, but they're kind of checking their phone, and you know, it's hard. It's really hard. Yeah.
So if we could leave people with a final tip for starting 2026, what would be something that they could take, that they could go and action, that they could take into this new year?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this applies to business or life. So if you're a business owner, do this for your business. If you're not a business owner, do this for your like career and life. And even if you're a business owner, do this for your life too. So what I would say is book 2 hours in your diary, go somewhere that's not your normal place of work. So go to like your favorite coffee shop, or, you know, a really cool co-work space, or wherever you like to hang out. Go to the park if you want, if it's warm enough. So I know this time of year is cold. Take a notepad and a pen, have your favorite drink. Mine would be a hot chocolate. Listen to some lovely music. Maybe, walk there if you can. Don't get in the car and drive. Like, try and, you know, get some nature vibes going, and just sit and journal like what you want to get out of the year, like what your feelings are about how you want to feel this year, your word for the year. What are your top 3 goals and why for your life, for your business, for your career? And just see what comes up for you, because actually that time to reflect is so important, to think about like, what do you want your year to be? Because, you know, this is your life. Like, I know this is all the cliches coming out here, but like, this is your life. You know, no one else gets to live it. We do know that, you know, life is very precious, and life can be tough and overwhelming, especially when you've got a family. But how can you be present? How can you make it enjoyable and like love it and change your energy? Like, I know I've been trying to do this recently, because sometimes I feel myself, that negative self-talk or that negative voice coming in. But like, how can we really just love and lean into those moments of life and enjoy ourselves. Because actually, a slight segue, but I took my daughter to school this morning and we had the best walk to school. It was amazing. We pretended we were riding unicorns at one point. We were driving cars. I was carrying her, running down the road. Like, it was crazy. Like, we were looking into each other's eyes and I was like, I know this is going to be the best bit of my day by far already. And this was, 8 o'clock in the morning. But I guess, like, take the time out to reflect and just figure out what makes you happy and how you can get more of that in your life. Because for me, it's about making the most of my business, but also allowing myself to have that time to feel like I can take my daughter to school and not be like, oh, I've got to go and work and I've got to get to my desk and I've got to send these emails and I've got to do this and I've got to make these sales. So yeah, just take the time out for you to reflect and see how you can create more magical moments in your world and just bring yourself more joy.
Oh, that's so lovely. And that sounds like such a lovely walk to school as well. And I think that's so, like, enjoying each moment, not trying to like worry too much about the next bit. Is like, enjoy the moment of the walk to school, or doing a podcast recording or whatever, and then then move on to the next bit.
Like, we both came to this call and said both of our childcare for the day has fallen through, so we're both operating on a bit of a shoestring today. But it's like, what can we do? Like, what can we control? We can either be really grumpy about it and have a bad day, or we can go, you know what, like, 'cause I never walk my daughter to school on a Thursday normally, and I took her and I went for a run, and I was like, that's going to make me feel, and I haven't done any work yet today. This is my first thing at 10 o'clock, and that for me, normally I'm at my desk by 8. But it's like, enjoy it. Like, be like, okay, I'm all right with that. I'm not going to punish myself and be annoyed with myself and think, oh, I've got so much work to do for the rest of the day, which is what I would do sometimes in my head. So it's like, yeah, let's just be happier if we can. It's hard sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's nice. I love that. So how can people get support from you to kick off the new year? Like, what have you got going on at Jen Lister Strategy that can help people if they want that accountability, if they want some support?
So I've got quite a few things going on. So the first thing I would say is follow me on Instagram and LinkedIn. So it's at Jen Lister Strategy. So that should be relatively straightforward, and it'll be in the bio, the link to the episode, I'm sure. Okay, so the first thing I've got going on is, if you are in Essex listening to this, then I've got my Get On It with Jen strategy workshop, which is on the 14th of January at 9:30 a.m. at a really cool co-working space called Patch in Chelmsford. And then the other things I've got going on are strategy days with my clients. So that's the best way, I think, to kick off the year, is to have a one-off strategy day where we basically problem solve everything in your business, set your goals, create your plan, your 12-month plan for the year. Like, I try and create stuff for my clients that I would want to do. So that's basically like my dream offering. And then if you want more longer term support, then working with me for 3 or 6 months is one-to-one. So that's my thing, one-to-one stuff, because I love one-to-one stuff myself. But yeah, I think the best way to do it is follow me on Instagram. You can join my email list. I've got goal setting goodies, which you can get. I'll put the link in for the show notes as well, to help you set your goals. It's a workbook, so you can sit on your own and take that with you on your reflection.
Yes, take it with you for your coffee or your hot chocolate in our case.
Exactly.
Amazing. So I'll put all the details of, like Jen said, of her Instagram and LinkedIn, so you can connect with her goal setting goodies, and then do reach out to her if you want to find out any more about her strategy days, and her Get On It with Jen. I know that's next week, so it is a bit last minute, but if you are able to get to it, I know it will really help you kick off 2026 in style.
Yay.
I just want to say a huge thank you, Jen, for coming on the podcast today, for sharing all these. It's been a brilliant chat, and I think really uplifting way to start 2026. I think so many times, like, people put pressure on themselves this time of year, like that they've got to get off to this great start and all this kind of thing. But actually, it's like, let's just take it back to what brings you joy, which is, I think, what I've got out of this conversation. What brings you joy, and how can we set our business and life up around to bring us more of that?
Absolutely. One of my taglines is, more joy, less struggle, or the other way around, less struggle, more joy, because that is my goal, definitely. So yeah, please find that for you, whatever that means to you. Yeah, figure it out and make it happen.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining this episode of This Mum Loves Tech. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of This Mum Loves Tech. If you're ready to save time and cut through the overwhelm when it comes to the tech and the tools your business really needs, don't forget to grab my free time-saving tech checklist. It's a super simple checklist that shows you what tools are, I believe, essential for your business, what can wait, and what you may have signed up to that you're not actually using. Download your copy at thismumlovestech.co.uk/checklist and start making the tech work for you. You can also find the link in the show notes below, and I'll see you in the next episode.